Almost everybody wants to have a huge 401k account because we all want as much money as possible for retirement. But believe it or not, there are times when you should not put money in your company 401k. That's the topic of today's My Retirement Clarity podcast. Let's do this.
It's time for the My Retirement Clarity podcast with Lee Perkins, financial planner and president of J.L. Perkins Wealth Management. Get ready for a good dose of inspiration, simplicity, implementation, and of course, clarity on how to successfully prepare for retirement and grow and preserve your wealth. Here's Ben George with Lee Perkins.
Well, it's always good to have you inside My Retirement Clarity. I'm Ben George with Lee Perkins, owner and financial advisor at J.L. Perkins Wealth Management. Lee, we talk about the 401k all the time, give tips, help people understand it better, talk about investing, but we're taking a little different approach today, right? Why you should not invest in a 401k.
Yeah, this is a little bit counterintuitive, I guess, because we're talking today on situations and times where it may not be best to invest in a 401k. Maybe you don't invest anywhere at all for a period of time, or maybe you invest money elsewhere. So yeah, it should be a good show with some helpful information.
Well, if you have questions for Lee when we get done, you can always visit talkwithlee.com to schedule a meeting with him, talk with him directly there, or you can call 478-254-3550. How's your summer going so far?
Man, it's good. We are, Walker's home from college, and we're able to play a little bit of golf, a little bit more golf than we have been. So that's great. He has started a little car wash business, and he is learning the value of hard work, and he's learning the value of a good shade tree, because lots of times when he's washing cars out of these office complexes, the sun is there. So I guess he's working a little bit on his tan too. And my daughter's doing some babysitting, and for humans and for dogs. So they are gainfully employed. And so as a dad who funds their operations, it's good to see them earn their own money.
That's great news for you. And it's great too, because with the advent of technology and just, we're all so accessible that if you do have that drive to go out and work and make money, it's probably never been easier than it is now, especially I think with like dog sitting and stuff. Like you can get connected with people in no time.
I agree 100%. So my son applied at about 8 or 10 different places, and it's crazy because as hard as it is to try to, it's different. All the places that are trying to hire people because they can't find employees. He couldn't get a job anywhere because he would go in and they were like, you have to do it online, and then you go online and apply, and you just get caught up in the robots and you can't ever talk to anybody. So he was like, I'm not doing that, and started this pressure washing. His car wash business, and he's made more money than he would have at any of those other things. And all we did was, we posted a few things to social media and just word of mouth, and he's as busy as he can be. So I think people, and part of it is he's a college student, and people want to help him out too. And they appreciate somebody who wants to work nowadays, because a lot of people don't want to work.
That's the truth for sure. Well, best of luck to them, and good for you. Maybe you'll have a little extra spending money or money to put away towards retirement, right? That's maybe the better option.
Yeah, I'm guessing that neither of my kids are even thinking about retirement, even though they know that's what I do, and I tell them. They're spending money. Walker he's doing some saving and investing because I'm trying to teach him that part of it. So it's fun to watch him grow up.
Awesome. Well, today we're talking about why you should not invest in a 401k. And look, don't take this the wrong way. We're not saying that your 401k is not a good option for saving. It can be a very advantageous way to save for retirement. It's got a number of benefits and tax advantages, and you can get good returns on your contributions as well. But it's important to recognize, like everything else, it's just one tool in the toolbox, and it might not be the best choice for you. So we want to take a different approach and talk about some different times when the 401k might not be the best place to be putting your money. So let's start off, Lee, with that emergency fund, right? If you haven't built that up yet, maybe contributing into the 401k is maybe not the best choice right now.
Yeah, in my opinion, starting to contribute to a 401k before you've got an emergency fund it's a mistake. And I'm not saying you've got to have a fully funded emergency fund of 6 or 9 months or a year or whatever you want. But I'm saying that you need to have at least started that emergency fund with a couple $1,000s. And then once you've got this squared away, then you can start contributing to your 401k and make that a regular part of your savings habit. And then going forward, set up on autopilot another $100, $200, $500 a month going into your emergency fund. And that way you can fully catch up on that. So I think on our last episode, we talked about the two types of savings accounts that I want people to have outside of your retirement savings accounts. I want somebody to have an emergency fund that is for emergencies. And then what I called on that show, a trip or a stuff fund. And this is, like I said on the other show, a new sofa or a new TV is not an emergency. But so that emergency fund is for emergencies. The trip or stuff fund, this is for, something you want to do or something you want to buy. If you want to go on a trip or if you want to remodel a bathroom, those are things that you can plan for and don't take that money out of an emergency fund. So once you get those things in place, then you can start putting money into that 401k. And we'll go into some of the other caveats on the 401k as we go through the show here today.
Absolutely. So again, get that emergency fund in place first. All right. What about if your employer doesn't match contributions to your 401k? How does that affect how you invest?
Yeah. So I would probably start out for somebody that's not getting a company match, which that's more rare nowadays. Most companies are offering a match to their employees. But if you're not getting that match, I would say you probably need to start out by putting some money in a Roth IRA if you are eligible. Go ahead and set this up on autopilot and contribute automatically every single month. And you're going to wake up in a few years with a big tax-free account at some point. Now, there are the disadvantage to a Roth IRA is there are limits to how much you can put in there. If you're under the age of 50, you can only contribute $6,500 a year. If you're over the age of 50, then you can put $7,500 per year. So, of course, if you're married, these limits would double. And even if one spouse is not working, a non-working spouse can piggyback on the earnings of a working spouse. So you got to have at least one spouse has to have earned income. So beyond the Roth IRA, then I would probably look at a non-qualified account, meaning a non-retirement account. Sometimes people call this a brokerage account. This money is going to be fully accessible to you at any time. Of course, you can invest it however you want. But on this account, there's no cap or there's no limitation on how much you can put in there. And then after this, if you want to go back and add money to the 401k account that doesn't receive a match, then you can certainly do that. So that's kind of the order that I would do there. Roth IRA accounts, if you can, then go to a non-qualified account, and then you can go to back to the 401k if you want to.
All right, good list to kind of jot down if you haven't done so on which way to prioritize that. All right, Lee, if you're swimming in debt, this is probably maybe an obvious one, but maybe not for everyone. If you're swimming in debt, hey, maybe the 401k is not the best place to put your money right now.
Yeah, it's definitely not. So debt's a lot of, it's a big problem for a lot of people. So if you've barely got enough money to pay all your monthly obligations, and you don't need to be putting money into a 401k right now. And that stinks, especially if you can get a match. But if you're getting a match and you're not gaining any ground on the debt that you've got, then you're going to dig a hole that's going to be tough to get out of. And I've seen this play out over and over, and people contribute to the 401k. They grow that account, they get the match, and then they wind up with a bunch of debt. And then what they have to do is take a loan from the 401k to pay off the debt. So to me, this is sort of backwards. And I think you've got to do things in the right order. So make sure you get rid of bad debt first. And this is things like, credit cards or personal loans, high interest personal loans, things like that. I don't mind house debt. And I really don't even mind car debt to some expense, as long as you don't have a ginormous car payment. But make sure you've got the debt taken care of, and then start piling away money in a 401k. Hey folks, Lee Perkins here. If you've listened to this podcast for any amount of time, you know how much I hate taxes, and I know you probably do too. Our politicians are completely out of control. Their spending is off the chart, and you've got to be prepared for increasing taxes in the future. So we've written a book called Diffuse. 7 Steps to Protecting Your 401k or IRA from the Ticking Tax Time Bomb. You're going to want to grab a copy of this book and learn how you can protect yourself. Then you'll have to decide if you want to take action right now or if you'd rather wait until the IRS changes the rules of the game. Either way, the choice is yours. To get a free copy of the book, just text the word DEFUSE to 478-475-2050. That's DEFUSE to 478-475-2050. And we'll send you a free copy. Thanks again for listening. Now back to the show.
All right, talking about some reasons why you maybe should not invest in your 401k, but maybe use that money elsewhere. What about if you're worried about future tax increases, Lee? And I know that a lot of people are right now. What should you be doing instead?
Yeah, so if you're like me and you think taxes are definitely going to increase in the future, then you should probably reconsider the amount of money that you save in a tax-deferred account, like a 401k or IRA or kind of a work retirement account. And I understand that most people save money in these types of accounts because they're under the assumption that they're going to retire and then be in a lower tax bracket. But I would tell you this doesn't happen as often as you would think. A lot of people put off paying taxes today just because we hate paying taxes right now. We think we're getting clobbered in taxes, and so we contribute to those accounts, get a tax break now, and put them in a tax-deferred account. So instead of paying taxes today, we pay taxes in the future. So then what happens is they retire and they find out they're going to wind up being in the same bracket. Maybe the same bracket, maybe a little bit lower on the bracket, but they're in the same bracket. So then what happens is that they're at the mercy of whatever the bracket is in the future. Now, if you've got the option of a Roth 401k, this is a fantastic option. And this is really becoming more popular for companies to offer this, but not all do at this point. I would say probably in 5 years, 95% of companies will have a Roth 401k option. But again, even if you think taxes are going up in the future and you do get a match from the company, just make sure you contribute enough to get the match. And then beyond that, go make your contributions in a manner that's more tax efficient so that you're not at the mercy of whatever happens to taxes in the future.
And Lee, if you are worried about taxes, one thing you can do as well is take advantage of your Ticking Tax Time Bomb book offer, which we offer anyone that listens to the podcast.
Correct. So the book is a short read and it's an easy guide with some actionable steps on how you can be better prepared for increasing taxes in the future. And we send this out to listeners of our show, listeners to the podcast, and folks that come into the office, people that attend our workshops. And so if you want a copy of it, text the word DEFUSE, DEFUSE to 478-475-2050. Give us a good mailing address and your name, and we'll send that out to you.
All right, very good. We got a few more here for reasons why you should not invest in a 401k. What about if you no longer work with the company? Why is it best to maybe not keep that money in that old 401k?
Yeah, in my opinion, if you no longer work for a company, then your money doesn't need to be at that company either. Chances are when you retire or when you resign from a company, it'll make sense for you to move that money to an IRA that you control. Because inside of an IRA, you can invest in whatever you want, and it might even wind up costing you a little bit less. So the only caveat here is going to be if you retire between the ages of 55 and 59 and a half. And a lot of people don't know this rule, Ben, but if you retire in that window, then you can withdraw money from your 401k without paying a 10% penalty to the IRS. So many times somebody comes to us and they're 57 years old and they're retiring. They got $900,000 in their 401k. We're going to leave, a couple of years of income in that 401k in case they need that prior to age 59 and a half. So maybe we leave $150,000 in the 401k and then remove the remaining balance to an IRA. And that way they can access it without a 10% penalty. So technically there is a way to get money from an IRA prior to 59 and a half, but you sort of got to get in bed with the IRS for a few years. And that's not something that we do a lot, and it really doesn't make sense for most people. But yeah, in my opinion, again, like I said, when you leave a company, your 401k needs to leave that company too.
All right, then your 401k too. This money that you're putting into your 401k, we do so with the really the understanding that, hey, I can't touch this money until I'm in retirement or close to retirement. There are some restrictions for that, or else you're paying penalties. So if you need money before retirement, you know you're going to need that money. Liquidity is important to you. That a 401k might not be the best choice.
Exactly. Yeah, you're 100%. You need to make sure that you're addressing your ability to access the money. And so it really for a couple of reasons. If you're somebody that plans to retire early, let's say maybe your early 50s or late 40s, and then that happens nowadays, believe it or not, then you need to save in a way that's going to allow you to access money at the time that you need it. So, or you could be somebody that's, planning on starting a business or something like that. And if you've got all your money tied up in a 401k, it's going to be very difficult for you to access. So sure, you could, if you're still there, you might could do a loan from your 401k if your plan allows it, but some plans don't even allow that. So that money's going to be pretty much stuck there. And then the only way to get it is going to be taking penalties from the IRS. And I don't want anybody to pay a penalty to the IRS. And they're probably a lot of really good people, but there's no reason for us to tip them if we don't have to. So again, just consider when you're going to need the money. That'll tell you how you're going to save.
Awesome. All right, last one, Lee. If you have any concerns about the structure of your plan, your 401k plan, whether it be control, flexibility, or investment options, any of these things, then you probably should choose to not use the 401k?
Yeah, so I'm not sure. I really see a lot of people who've got concerns about the structure of their plan. I don't think most people dig that deep into it, but I know there are a lot of people who don't really understand the plan, and that can lead to some bad decisions. I think limited investment options can be an issue for some people, but for the most part, I find that people put their money in a 401k into a fund. They don't really have any clue what the fund is. They just pick that solely based on the past performance. And that's not always a good indication of what's going to happen in the future. And I know that actually sounds like a disclaimer. And truthfully, that probably is. But, I think a lot of people are also under the misconception that money in their 401k doesn't cost them anything, like there's no fees. And I think for most people, if you dig deeper, you're going to find out the 401k that you're in has hidden expenses that you don't even know about unless you do a lot of legwork to figure it out. So when this is the case, you may actually be able to hire a professional to manage your account and give you planning advice for about the same cost. So anyway, make sure nothing is free.
Well, some good reasons why maybe to not invest in a 401k. Hopefully that just gets you thinking a little bit, right? I mean, it's typically we just kind of set it and forget it. It comes out of our paycheck, it goes in, we don't worry about it. But maybe there are some reasons why that money might better serve you elsewhere. So if you have questions for Lee, again, you can always schedule a meeting by visiting talkwithlee.com, or you can always call 478-254-3550. All right, Lee, let's get into the mailbag here. A couple questions for you today on the podcast. First one comes in from Claire in Macon. Should I move my IRA away from a place that charges a 2.5% fee? That seems extremely high to me, and I'm not sure how to tell if I'm getting my money's worth.
Good question, Claire. This is one we get fairly frequently. I don't know if that fee is worth it, because to me, it all depends on what you're getting. I would tell you if the person is only managing your account, that's probably a little bit on the high side. But if they're doing a ton of work for you and giving you some extreme value for what you're paying, maybe they're saving you a lot of money on your overall taxes, then that fee could wind up being in line with what it's worth. So yeah, I don't really know for sure. You might ask your advisor, hey, what am I getting for this 2.5% fee? If they can articulate it, you might be in the right place. If they can't, maybe you should consider talking to somebody else.
Thank you for that question, Claire. We have one more from Greg in Sandy Springs. Greg says, I recently got a very large cash settlement from an auto accident I was involved in, and this will make a big difference in my life because I'm 57 and don't have much saved for retirement. The problem is that because I've done such little investing over the years, I really have no idea where to start. So what's the first step?
All right. So Greg, for someone in your position who doesn't have really experience in doing that, I would not do this on my own if I were you. There's no reason to try this at home. You said you're 57. don't have much saved and you've done very little investing, I would absolutely hire somebody to take care of this money for you. I would not hire a stockbroker. You don't need somebody to sell you something, but you need to sit down with a financial planner who can assess your whole situation a little bit later in life and figure out how we can make this money be a blessing for you so that you don't have to work till you're 75 years old. So that's what I would do. And I'd probably talk to a couple of people. And of course, I'd love to be one of those people. If you want to give us a shout here, you can call our office at 478-254-3550, or you can schedule a quick call with me and you can go to talkwithlee.com and grab a 15-minute section on my calendar and we'll just talk over your situation. But I appreciate the question, Greg.
Yeah, we always appreciate your questions and love to hear feedback from anyone listening to the podcast that likes to hear, have questions, or just, hey, is this something you want us to talk about on future episodes? Let us know. We'll be happy to work that in. But if you want to talk with Lee again, talkwithlee.com, easy to remember, talkwithlee.com, schedule a meeting there. And you can always call 478-254-3550. And finally, the website is myretirementclarity.com if you want to learn more about what Lee's got coming up or just get access to all of our podcasts and other resources he offers. They can all be found right there. Lee, thanks for your time as always. Hope you have a good week.
Thanks, Ben. You too. Take care. Lee Perkins here, and I want to thank you so much for tuning into the show today. If you like our podcast, we would be honored if you would share the show with others. And one great way to do that is by posting the show to your social media pages or by just telling others about it. Either way, we would really appreciate it. And of course, if you do enjoy the show, we would appreciate it if you would give us a 5-star review. And this certainly helps other people like you find our show. And if you want to learn a little more about our firm and how we help people have the best retirement they can possibly have, go check us out at www.myretirementclarity.com. There are a lot of great resources that you can access directly on the website. And of course, if you want to have a conversation with me, you can visit www.talkwithlee.com, and this will take you directly to my calendar. And there you can schedule a 15-minute phone call so I can learn a little bit more about your situation. Of course, everybody is not a great fit for our firm, but if I think we can add value and put you in a better situation, I'll let you know, and we can certainly talk about the next steps. So thanks again for tuning into the show, and we'll catch you next time.
Investment advisory services are offered by J.L. Perkins Wealth Management, a registered investment advisor and insurance agency. Information is for illustrative purposes only and does not constitute tax, legal, or investment advice. Always consult with a qualified tax, legal, or investment professional before taking any action.